Welcome back to Living a Full Life. Today, we're diving into something big: how to actually reverse your biological age. Yep, your biological age, meaning how old your cells think you are. And the crazy part, your biological age can go up or down depending on your lifestyle from month to month. Last week's episode on longevity spurred up a bunch of questions. Typically, I don't, most episodes are kind of silent. People listen, continue on with their lives. But a few patients came into the office. They're like, that was really cool. What is going on with biological age? How do I know my real age internally, and how can I change it? The answer is yes, you can actually change it. And the research that's coming out right now is exploding. And we're going to break it down in this podcast and what works, what doesn't work, and what you can do starting today to help reverse your biological age. Thanks for tuning in to Living a Full Life. I'm Dr. Enrico Dolcecore. Each and every week, we bring you tips to live long, healthier lives with you and your families. I hope you're doing well, and thank you for tuning in each and every week. I appreciate you listening in. We try to keep them short and sweet. But last week's was great. So if you love this one, you may have to go back and listen to last week's on longevity. It was a great overview, and it spurred up more about biological age. Everyone's like, okay, again, the sexy and fun theme of the podcast is what everybody wants to know. We brought up a little bit about erectile dysfunction medication and where it came from, about vasodilation and increasing blood flow in the body for overall cardiovascular health. That's where this stuff all came from, Viagra and Cialis and all that. And then guess what the questions were? Okay, so blood flow, it's really, the Viagra and Cialis are sold for what? I mean, for guys that want that, right? So it sells. It sells. Guys are not running to the pharmacy and be like, "Hey, I got to really work on my cardiovascular health. Can I have some vasodilators?" They're not. They should. They should do that. Most guys should do that, but they don't. It doesn't sell, right? So guess what sold in my podcast last week? I can lower my biological age. How do I do that, Dr. D? And here I am. So here's the sexy podcast on what is biological age. I never thought I'd say that was sexy, but there you go. Most people think age is just your birthday. It's when you were born. You can't change it. It just is. Yes, you can't change the number of candles that are going to be on your cake this year, but your biological age is based on a few things that if you keep an eye on, you absolutely can lower it. Cellular health, your inflammatory markers, insulin sensitivity, DNA methylation, protein damage, and mitochondrial function. That's where all the science is circulating around. You may see them pick out one like DNA methylation, and you'll read all about that stuff. But then there's this web that crisscrosses on all of this stuff about inflammatory markers, insulin markers, mitochondrial function, and they all intertwine into this wonderful web of biological age. This is why two 50-year-olds standing side by side who can look and feel completely different on the inside and out. We've seen this. Science now shows biological age predicts a lot of cool things: chronic disease, mobility loss, dementia, cardiovascular risk, and even mortality. I hope I have your attention in this podcast. Much more accurately than chronological age. You could take people's blood markers and keep their name and data off of it and just show a microbiologist the data. They don't know your name. They don't know your birthday. They don't know if you're male or female. They'll look at your biological data. They'll pretty much be able to tell off of that whether it's male or female. They won't know the age. And you tell them, age this person. They'll get it wrong. They will not get your age correct because your function, your blood tells a different story than what your driver's license says on the day that you were born. So we need to use that in our power and be like, wow, who cares when I was born? I'm going to function and act completely different. It's your choice. Smoke cigarettes and drink and sit on your butt, or decide to do the right things. And this is what we're going to talk about, the right things. Studies using new multi-omics aging clocks from 2025 data show they can predict health decline years before symptoms appear. So how do we actually turn this number backward? Let's get it into the real levers of how this really works. Number one, We have to reduce chronic inflammation. This is the first step, the fundamental step of reversing the clock is getting inflammation under control. Chronic inflammation accelerates aging every single day. It damages DNA, stiffens blood vessels, interferes with hormones, and ages the brain. So, what reduces inflammation? And more importantly, what reduces inflammation quickly? I know what you guys are here for. You're not going to do the long road. You want the fast road. What do? Eating whole anti inflammatory foods. It's our foods that are causing the inflammation. And over 90% of the inflammation in our body is created by what we eat. Maybe we should change what we eat. Berries, leafy greens, avocado, olive oil, nuts, and a lot of herbs and spices are anti inflammatory. Eat some veggies, some greens, some salad bases. Eat some berries for fruit. Have some good oils like avocado and olive, some nuts on the side or sprinkled on top of our salads, and then cook with herbs and spices. It's kind of how most of the world functions, except for North America for some weird reason. Studies on polyphenols, the antioxidants in plants, show they slow cellular aging and improve immune resilience immediately. Polyphenols are powerful. They're in our leafy green vegetables. So we got to cut the processed foods and seed oils. The problem with processed food is they all use rancid oils to preserve them and make them taste like something. Otherwise, everything would taste like cardboard. So they add salt or sugar or both and rancid oils to preserve it on the shelf. Otherwise, if you put sugar or oil into or good oil into anything, it will decay quite quickly. It won't be shelf stable. So processed foods have to use the bad stuff to keep them on the shelf. You walk by a bag of Oreos and it was there, and you look at the package, it was made in 2024. You bought it November 2025, and it's good till October 2026. How do we keep something self stable for 2 years? That's how you do it. So these things drive inflammation, they spike our insulin, they create gut issues, and they create oxidative stress. And if we don't have antioxidants in our diet, the oxidative stress causes havocs. I have a podcast on this about the sparks of oxidative stress and how these sparks fly through the body and just cause damage, like actual sparks in a welding shop. So daily movement. Walking alone cuts inflammation and inflammatory markers dramatically. Just walking. Walking 15 minutes a day, 4 times a week, reduced women's risk of breast cancer by 80%. This is from I've been using that stat since 2004. That's a long-term study. You don't need to kill yourself in the gym. You just need to move. Poor sleep raises inflammation the very next day. If you have a bad night's sleep, you wake up the next day more inflamed. You don't need to kill yourself in the gym. You don't need to buy weird stuff for your sleep. Sleep basically is nature's anti-aging medicine. It's how you heal and regenerate. Lever number 2, metabolic longevity. Your metabolism is the biggest driver of metabolic age. The key areas are insulin sensitivity. High insulin ages cells faster. This is why fasting or low sugar diets and low processed food diets improve our biological age. And then we have to focus on fasting and the time restricted eating. A large review found that eating in a 6 to 10 hour window improves your insulin, your inflammation, your autophagy, your cellular repair, and your mitochondrial function. Autophagy is your body's way of breaking down bad cells in the body. It's autophagy from Greek, automatically eating itself. So your body has this automatic process where it goes out and cleans up dying cells faster. So the faster we get dying cells down, the shorter the span of inflammation. The longer we leave dying cells around, the longer the process of inflammatory breakdown to break them down, which keeps us overall inflamed. Mitochondrial function is the mitochondria in every single one of your cells is the energy powerhouse or the boiler room of every cell where energy is made. So if we increase that function there, we have more energy in the cell. More energy in the cell has more waste products eliminated and more nutrition put into the cell. They move faster. When they move faster, they live longer. When they live longer, you live longer. Good. So Protein and muscle mass. This is where, if you listen to other podcasts and all these big podcasts and doctors that are talking, this is the thing that's been around for the last 2 years is protein and muscle mass, sarcopenia, the decay of muscle, and the longevity studies of people dying younger because of sarcopenia. So we know this. So we can put 2 + 2 together and realize that it's four. Muscle is a longevity organ. It directly defines how we're going to move later in life. So studies show the more muscle mass you have later in life, the lower your risk of falling, disease, hospitalizations, memory decline, and early death. Strength training definitely equals longer life. You got to encompass this into your daily or weekly routines. Lever number 3, mitochondria. Think of your mitochondria as the engine or boiler room. When they're damaged, you age faster. So, ways to improve your mitochondrial function: exercise, cold exposure. This is where the whole cold plunge thing came from, and cold showers. Don't necessarily have to go to those extremes, but cold exposure is good for you. We're lucky here in Florida to be in a warm climate, but that regulation in season where we have the hot summers and the cooler winters is good for us. We want to be exposed to cooler temperatures to increase thermogenesis in the body's natural way. That's our metabolism. Saunas. Saunas are a great way to increase body temperature. Fasting, polyphenol-rich foods, leafy green vegetable salads, prioritizing sleep, and reducing environmental toxins from the environment. Our food is the number one in indigestion of environmental toxins, but also the things that we breathe, put on our skin, cosmetics, lotions, sunscreen, all the things in there. We have to be mindful about what we're putting on and in our bodies. Your body can literally produce new mitochondria if you give it the right stressors. Those stressors are called hormesis. Different podcast for a different day. Lever 4, stress, nervous system, and longevity. Your nervous system affects your biological age more than people think. High stress equals high cortisol. High cortisol equals cellular aging. We're learning that the brain's biological age is one of the strongest predictors of mortality. The ways you can reduce your nervous system aging is breath work, prayer or meditation, laughter, time in nature, social connection, and time away from screens. Therapeutic things you can add to this are craniosacral techniques, somatosensory work, chiropractic. Those are the 3 biggest ones, chiropractic being the biggest one because it encompasses all the techniques that directly influence our nervous system without putting any chemical or stressor into the body to influence the nervous system, like sedation or muscle relaxers or anti-inflammatories. Those are chemical stresses. Chiropractic puts no stress on the body, a minute physical stress for a great nervous system response. It's amazing. So this stuff, stress management isn't nice to have. People say that, oh, that'd be nice, decreasing stress. No. You need to do this. You need to find ways to do this. You got to figure out the tools that work in your life to do this. Maybe all the things we listed don't work for you. This is why I think chiropractic is very big in America. It's utilized very well because we're fast. We're quick to go into. You don't have to sit in the waiting room for an hour, see the doctor, have a 45-minute appointment, and then leave. And at least not in my office. You book an appointment, we'll see you within 5 minutes of that appointment time, and then you're probably out in under 10 as long as you don't have anything chronic going on. So people are in and out to boost their nervous system function. They know that. We measure it. We measure heart rate variability in our office, static EMG, thermography. We do that stuff to measure the nervous system. So I know it works. And it's a fast way. But if you have the time to lie down and do a 75-minute craniosacral therapy massage or something like that to help, or somatosensory work with a kinesiologist or whatever it may be, there's a lot of ways, or even acupuncture. You can lie down for an hour and do that. People that make time for that do better. So what doesn't reverse aging? I made sure to add this at the end of the podcast because we talked about all the things that do, but what doesn't? I hope this saves you time, money, and effort. This is the truth, what I did. This is not my opinion. This is the absolute truth from science-based, evidence-based research. Expensive supplements with no human data do not work. Anti-aging creams do not work. They actually have chemicals in them and you're putting them right on your face. 5-day fasting mimicking kits that cost $300 do not work. Do not fast for 5 days straight. NAD plus, I recommend NAD for patients, but NAD gimmicks without real dosing evidence doesn't work. And then peptides with no clinical trials. This is the big thing right now. So many peptides out there, very little clinical trial. Don't waste your money on this stuff. Do not do the things we just talked about, the levers we talked about. You don't need expensive or exotic solutions. There isn't no magic pill. Why do we want to wait for this magic pill? Just human natured, isn't it? Generation after generation. I remember my grandma telling me about the magic pills back in the 50s. My mom telling me about the magic pills in the 70s and 80s. And here we are talking about the magic stuff now. And none of them have survived over time because there isn't a magic pill. There isn't a magic shot. The strongest science still supports diet, movement, sleep, fasting, stress control, and muscle mass. That's where all the research is. That's where all the answers lie. That's why all the scientists are spending their time on that. The influencers on social media are doing the other stuff, which does nothing for us. The real scientists with PhDs are working on this stuff. So these reverse aging more than anything on the market. Your daily anti-aging routine should be something along these lines. Here's a practical routine. Morning, hydrate, 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight, and high protein breakfast or skip breakfast, depending on the fasting schedule. That's how you should start your day. Drink a glass of water in front of your window, getting some sunshine for 10 minutes. Start your day like that. During the day, get 8 to 10,000 steps per day. Move your body. Get up from these computers. Get up from the desk. You got to move. You have to move. Even if you stand on your feet in retail or a cashier, measure your steps. You're not getting 10,000 because you're static in one area, one spot. Lift weights or resistance train. Eat whole foods and manage stress. Cook your meals, people. Cook your own meals. And then evening, a light dinner. These big dinners don't serve us. Early in the evening, as early as you can, 5, 6, 7 p.m. Screens off 60 minutes prior to bed. The bedroom stays dark and cool, and you just do some gratitude or reflection to help you with the mental stress. Just say a few things you're grateful for. I know you have a lot. It's easy to sit there and just say, hey, I'm glad I got two eyes, most of my teeth, and my legs work. I mean, it's pretty easy to end the day with something grateful. Do this consistently and your biological age will shift. If you really want a life hack, teach your kids this stuff too. Pass this stuff on. Reversing your biological age is not magic. It's daily choices, small habits, staying consistent. Your body's always trying to repair itself. It's trying to thrive. Your body wants to. It wants to be able to run 100 miles an hour. Your body wants to do this. You just have to give it the right conditions. Just like every week, thank you for listening. If there's any questions you have, reach out to us at info@fulllifetampa.com. We love answering these things. You guys reached out to us in person for this episode, particularly on lowering your biological age. I hope I gave you some tips there. Stay well, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next week.